Okay, so I don't know. I've got some time, so I thought I would just I mm, I just loved it so much, so I just have to talk about it. It's just got me so excited. Um, that might happen, but Dungeons and Dragons, the Dungeons and Dragons Honor Among Thieves, there were just so many things to love. I might get into a couple negatives that I thought about. There aren't really many because I look, I don't know, maybe I was like honor bound in some ways to like this movie because it brought back so much to me. I've never played actually Dungeons and Dragons for a long time. I didn't even know like what it was. It was kind of a mystery to me that people would like sit around at a table and roll dice, and like the concept of like dungeon master never like made sense to me because it was uh like a guy is making up a story for you, like that seems like really like lame. I was always the kind of guy to make up the story. I would go back in the backyard with my brother and we would play all sorts of things and fantasy and science fiction, all sorts of stuff, and it was so fun. And because by just by proxy, the film is trying to sort of capture that feeling of playing the game, of that adventure, of that like you don't know what's going to happen next, of just doing all sorts of really cool things, living out these like the dream that you have, like I'm a sorcerer. Well, okay, maybe I'm not like all the way leveled up, but I'm gonna try and use that sorcery like as much as possible, as much as I can, and make it useful. And there's a wish fulfillment to that just this movie gets, and I felt it because when I would play pretend in the backyard, I would always want to be, I would only ever not want to be like a powerful person with really amazing abilities, only for like a change of pace, basically, because I loved being the wizard all the time. And even there, just like the axe, Olga Michelle Rodriguez's character as the axe handler, that was my second favorite kind of character to play, who was just like the muscle and head, all of this just like force, and I loved using the pretend axe, and just everything about that aspect of the film was super just washed over me, just how great it is. The And so I guess that sort of begs the discussion of characters, um, which it's sort of difficult to get a understanding of how to feel about the characters because they're meant to be like cookie cutter type, just as you would have in a regular like D&D campaign, where you have all the different types. I mean, even in the advertising they were talking about, there's the muscle, here's the wizard, here's the shapeshifter, here's the swordsman, and then here's the minstrel. And they all were that, but that was good. Like, you can't see, you can't complain about regular things because this movie is fully embracing what it needed to be as a just not just a Dungeons and Dragons movie. Again, I'm going to sort of move away from faithfulness to Dungeons and Dragons because I know heck about it. I really don't know that much. But what I do know is adventure, and I love, just absolutely love a, a movie that just goes full on, just goes full on adventure mode. It doesn't matter. I love Adventure Time. How it puts them on a quest for 10 minutes, and that's all it is. It's an adventure. There's really not any like they're not trying to hold back. They're telling the story in this grand way, you know, from it's place to place. It's you know, it's location to location and fight to fight. Yeah, but it's not apologizing for that. And it does that well. And I love that so much. What to talk about? The spirit of it, I guess. Maybe there were a couple too many quips here and there after you know, like important scenes or something like that, but and that's like, you know, the sort of the Marvel-ish formula where you got to be funny, but there were some real funny moments. I really especially liked where the fake minstrel comes in and that sort of shorts out, and where just how everything moves. It's so awesome. Anyway, the characters, it was so fun to see them all together. They worked really well. I think having the four majors and then sort of a couple people on the side really worked quite well. And the four people, except maybe a shapeshifter whose name escapes me, I always felt with her power set and with her motivations, she was the one who got the short end. Now, not to say she didn't get anything, and I was really happy because she sort of dips in the middle, especially when they go to the place to get the helm. When Regé Jean Page's character comes in, you know, she sort of she's the one who takes the back seat, and I was like, uh-oh, she's got a really cool power, and she has not used it since her scene, because everybody gets their scene. I don't know why so many, like, movies with big powers and you know, team up movies, they miss the idea of everyone gets their scene. The Incredibles does this so well, where every single person gets a chance to shine on their own, and then they get a chance to pull that all together. More than one chance. You know, there's the first, and it keeps going. And this movie did that so well, and so it was so creative. I was enjoying every minute of it. Her escape from, there were so many little details and touches, so many, like, I mean, look, movies are getting really good at just doing fun new things. I don't think anyone is you know, arguing that, where, you know, modern films, even if they're devoid of, like, good story ideas or they still, you know, have team members behind them with some oomph, you know, whether it be cinematography or someone is there, you know, for a reason. Of and and they're getting creative, you know, they kind of have to be, because movies are extremely well established thing, and you got to keep pushing the envelope no matter what you're doing. There was some really fun shots that, like, you don't usually get. I was thinking about it. Here's one example. There's just a shot of Chris Pine's character and Michelle Rodriguez just sitting in waiting for Hugh Grant's character to see them, and they're just sitting by a wall on a bench, and it wasn't flat. Like, that was all it was. Look, that's basic stuff. Don't make your frame flat. Sorry, I'm doing that right now. But, you know, it was in the corner, so there was a hallway going that way and a hallway going that way. There were people down the hallway, and they were sitting sort of off center, sort of like right there. And I thought, that's brilliant. You know, that's baby steps. That's a tiny little detail. That's a tiny little, like, adjustment that makes all the difference. You know, coming back to it, you know, it just, you just have to go that extra step and infuse life into it. That's what I'm getting at here. Is that this movie in all of its aspects just went that extra step. Let's talk about the music. Now, the score itself just really lent itself to a classic feel. I was so glad about that. There was a little bit of like sort of modern feel in one of Olga's scenes, which again I was okay with because she's pretty metal in general. But what I really really loved were the folk songs, the folk tunes that Chris Pine's character would sing, and especially that one that he and Michelle Rodriguez sang, and then it sort of graduated up into background score as the really fun look. I'm just going to be naming like really fun things that I saw because this story is pretty basic, and I'm glad it was. I'm really glad it was. There were great twists. We'll get to that maybe. There were just great character dynamic, which is really what you need, and some just classic stuff. Classic moments. That's what I'm here for, okay? I'm here for the classic stuff, man. I'm here for the villain trying to run away with his enormous goblet and then getting stopped by the returning swordsman hero before he can escape, who previously left the movie, but you knew he would be back. You knew he would be back to some degree because you can't just bring a character in and not bring him back, because that's another thing this movie gets really well, is it's just like, look, they know what tools they're working with. They know exactly what they're doing with what they have, and the movie's good because of it. And, well, I mean, it's because it's also good for other reasons, because it's very charming and it's very lighthearted and it's so classic and feel. There's so many things to love about it if you love an adventure. If you just love a regular old adventure. What was I going to say? Yeah, so talking about the scene transitions, the transitions from place to place. All you need is the classic, like Lord of the Rings helicopter shot, when they're running through, they're running, like, chasing the Uruk-hai. All you need is that with really fun, like, backgrounds. And that gets the job done. Oh, I also loved the that transition to the title, where it shows the map of everything. I thought, again, this is a movie that knows exactly what it needs to do. Showing that map was just like perfect. Because, that's what it's all about. It's about all of the places and all of the things that are happening. And so the transitions where it's like the volcanoes in the background and the mountains and the prairies and the wheat fields and all of those things. It made it interesting to watch that they just put effort into infusing life into just the regular structures of story. They weren't trying to be. They didn't bite off more than they could chew with trying to like upend the system. No, they just presented their best that they had. They understood. The movie understands its identity and it's so fun, and it doesn't try to undermine itself for the sake of undermining itself. So many films do that, where they'll try to be new and they'll try to be like creative, and by doing so they literally shoot themselves in the foot. This movie just went straight on, and I loved it. I love the performances and the just how much fun everyone seemed to be having with it, and that's what it was. It was fun to be a part of. There was so much spirit and life and just the little things. I mean, again, fantasy's been done to death. What do you do with it? How do you infuse your, like, and also it's Dungeons and Dragons, and people are massive nerds about this stuff. How do you integrate it? I just loved the weird little tidbits. like a fat dragon, or or an owl bear, or all of these different things that just do stuff. Oh, I remember what I was getting back to. Speaking of which, um, callbacks. This movie just uses its tools, and one of those tools is callbacks. As soon as I saw that uh, dragonfly, I knew it was important, and I knew it would be. I didn't know what it meant. No, and the movie. Look, I'm not smart for seeing this. You're supposed to see it. And I'm sure everyone did. The movie meant for you to see it, but as soon as I saw it, I was like, okay, that I this movie is helping itself out with just a solid structure here with setup and payoff. And as soon as I got into like the feel of what the movie would be, with everyone showing their skills and their powers and things being brought up, I thought, how is this not going to be, um, you know, really like, because the worst kind of here I'll phrase it this way: the worst kind of adventure stories are those that are entirely episodic. The ones where, now, to a degree, adventure stories have to be episodic, right? Place to place, person to person, meet this person, all these sorts of things. But when it's entirely episodic, when there's hardly any like connective tissue, just like an overarching thing, like fetch quests, that sort of thing, when like, oh, we got to get this thing for that thing, for that thing, for that thing, and then we're good. No, you can't do that, or else it's entirely uninteresting. And there was a moment where I was afraid when they were getting the helm, where he sees the stick and he's like, "Oh, it's a portal stick." I don't know what he called it. I'm sorry. I totally forgot what he called it. Hither thither stick, hither thither staff, something like that. And it's basically a portal gun, right? And it helps them get across the bridge. Well, the bridge that broke because of a pretty funny. I don't play Dungeons and Dragons, but I'm pretty sure that complicated bridge was a bit of a stab, and it was a pretty funny moment. But they hit the other staff, and it was like, problem, further problem solved. We're done. And I thought, oh, that was really just like too straightforward. Like, don't be doing that. And then I was like, you had better bring back the hither thither stick. You had better bring it back, because, and I was talking earlier about the shapeshifter. I felt the same way about her, especially at that point, where the movie sort of takes a dip in a lot of places. For me, or at least at the very least, it doesn't dip, or at the very least, I was like starting to think, oh, this will make or break, right? This is the point where I thought, you have to prove your mettle, as a movie. And it more than made up. The scene where they get into the like the treasure trailer with the portal gun, like, it's so they're doing such fun things with it, like, and they obviously thought it out. There's that really cool visual of her going in and then up, and then all these sorts of things in the trailer. Be with, I think, one that is so aggressively like weaselly, but he'll rise to the occasion when given the chance. And I love to see that. People just love to see that. And then, I don't know, look, I'll say it straight. I also love to see the the man rising up, and the girl finally noticing him. That is core That is core essentials there, baby. That is like, people love to see that, okay? In adventure movies, you love to see people use their powers and use them cleverly. Again, getting back to the ending, where it's cleverness that rules the day eventually, and not some great feat of strength or anything like that. And also, people love to see just guy gets girl. I mean, that's a very crude way. People love to see, you know, people getting together. It's real fun. It's real fun. It's just fun, man. And I just had such a good time with it. And it was good, just good and just clean and straightforward. And great gags. I especially loved the ending where Hugh Grant's character is explaining everything, and that's sort of how the ending narration happens. Again, clever. It's not like they reinvented the wheel. Oh my gosh, movies will never be the same. Oh goodness me. It's the greatest revelation. Give it all the Oscars. No way, Jose. But they put such such effort into the basics. Like I said earlier, they put effort into the basics. Having Chris Pine do his pleading. I mean, that's happened before. Again, this is a heist movie, and you can see a lot of like similarities to like the quintessential heist movie, Ocean's 11, with George Clooney, where it starts with him sort of pleading his case in prison, and that's sort of where you get a lot of backstory and you get to know his motivations and all these sorts of things. So it's not exactly new, but they just do a fun spin on it where he's like, where's Jonathan? I really need Jonathan. And they don't overplay a lot of things either. I mean, sometimes maybe the humor gets to be a lot, like I said. But I love that this whole thing where he grabs Jonathan and he jumps out the window, and then the Hugh Grant's character tries to do it again, and that's how the movie ends. Is again, those setup and payoffs. People love to see it. People love to see setup and payoff, man. I'm telling you. That's what this movie is an exercise in. Is just people love to see it. Dude, I could watch that so many times again. There's so many things to just explore there. I don't know. Let's talk about the villain, I guess. I won't keep you for too much longer. I think I pretty much, to some degree, just expressed how excited this movie made me. Just the idea, like, going around and it's just full of life. The villain. I think having it be... I don't know. Having it be Hugh Grant was a good idea, because he is very, very charming. And that scene between Chris Pine's daughter and him, where he's like, I almost was like, oh, what a nice guy. And then I remembered, oh goodness, hold on. And also, here's another thing that I really enjoyed. The setup for them going into the arena was actually completely believable, and they went through with it. See, here's the thing. This is what I love about movies. This is what I would. This is what. This is what makes me love movies of this nature. When I see something and I'm like, you better do this right. Like, I have an idea how you could do this right. Basically, all I want is for you to capitalize on this. That's all I want, right? Like, I mentioned it with the hither staff. I was like, this is a good concept. Don't stretch yourself too thin. Capitalize and do it cleverly. I mean, that's not my job. That's your job. But I want you to do it, right? And they did that so well with the... And they plugged those holes that I thought of. And they did them... And they acknowledged them, and they followed through, and they capitalized. Like, for instance, with the I thought, here's an explanation. They didn't say it outright. Here's an explanation why the sorceress would let them enter the games. She wants them to become zombies because that's not only is it more gratifying to have them, suffer in zombie form, but they'd also make pretty daggone good fighters for their team. It's the whole idea of, oh, Buzz Lightyear Star Command, the movie. No one's seen it, but there's the idea there where Zurg is like, no, I'm not going to kill you. I'm going to make you me. I will take the galaxy's greatest hero and turn him into me. Yeah. And there's the idea there. And she states it outright at the end. Like the movie affirms what I thought to sort of plug the hole. And they don't often do that, right? Where I can get past certain things in a movie where I see it and I'm like, no, I'm not going to worry about that, right? It's not worth worrying about because I'm enjoying the movie. But then when the movie actually like addresses it and it addresses it in a smooth way, I really enjoy that. Or like, I don't know, like funny little tidbits like Chris Pine's character always handing things off to the wizard guy, where they set it up, right? They set it up with a smaller gag, and then they make it an even bigger gag. I will guard this with my life. Here, hold this. Like, I'm telling you, it's so nice to just rest in a well-made movie that you enjoy resting in. Just because it's not taxing you, right? It's not like this big bad thing that like, you're trying to stay with it, or it's not like it's challenging you much, but it's so gratifying to rest in it. And I don't know, man. I just enjoyed the heck out of my time there. Just enjoyed it so much. Okay. I'll end by saying this. I enjoyed it a lot. And I don't know, maybe if I watched it again, I would think it a little bit more generic than I did the first time, because a lot of like the inspiration of it might be coming from, seeing it for the first time. Because, I mean, there weren't a whole lot of, like, there wasn't a multitude of things. And I sang the praises of why I thought that was a good thing, that there wasn't a multitude of things. In fact, instead, they introduced a thing and actually used it and capitalized on it. But perhaps that might affect, coming back to it. But I just, I enjoyed it so much. And I really do recommend it so much. And it's just good fun. It's so good. And it's got a great message, and it's got really, it's just a well told story, and a story worth telling. When those two things come together in a movie, that's a pretty interesting day. Especially in modern cinema, where stories can be well told or they can be worth telling. It's usually not both, and at least on a basic level, I would 100% say that for this film. And I loved it. And I hope to keep loving it.